Skippy. Hey everybody, 147 HooperCast on YouTube or SoundCloud or your dreams
or UCloud
or UCloud. Oh man, patent pending. No one do that.
I know, that's our idea. We came up with it first.
It's gonna be a place where we upload video on audio links and audio on video links.
Yes.
It's gonna be a spectacular failure.
Yes, no one's gonna understand it at all.
Yeah, but if you're, so it is Friday the 9th of February now, and thanks for joining us on our show. Dustin and I are going to talk, gotta start that clock again, there we go. By the way, Dustin, did you see we talked about trailers on Wednesday, if you wanted to hear our thoughts on the Han Solo Super Bowl spot or the Jurassic World 2 Super Bowl spot, but another one we didn't mention, was the Mission Impossible Fallout spot, which we liked. I liked.
Looked awesome. Yeah,
I think that for a franchise like that, for someone like Tom Cruise, first of all, like if not for the believability and the dedication of Tom Cruise, that series wouldn't be what it is.
Right.
You wouldn't believe someone that old, playing a character that capable.
Yep.
I mean, imagine Liam Neeson playing Ethan Hunt.
Ooh.
Or Pierce Brosnan. Like,
There's only three people listening that get that reference.
And thank you guys for listening.
Thank you guys.
But yeah, like I think that I think that franchise still has a good amount of gas, and totally. And they found a way to try to make them feel different and evolve, and just feel really exciting. And again, Tom Cruise seems kind of like a weird dude personally and shady and all that stuff. But but all I've ever heard about him professionally is that guy is a go-getter, and he wants to make the thing great, and he puts his all into it. And I think it really shows on screen.
It does. For me, it's like the fact that, whether he does his own stunts or he doesn't, which we all know that he does, but whether he does or he doesn't, it doesn't matter because it's believable. Like he puts everything into it and goes out and like supports his films the way that a movie star should. And, whether he's weird or he's not, he does his job. He does it well. He takes pride in it, and he continues to do them well. Movie after movie. Mission Impossible Fallout looks really cool. It looks intense. The fight choreography looks great. And I was telling Hooper just before we started rolling, I feel like this movie, ever since JJ did one, it's like they got a jump start and they became something different. So the original Mission Impossible series that it's based on, obviously there was like an ensemble, there's a team that Ethan works with, and they never really had that in the first two films. And they started it in the third, where you've got, Ving Rhames, and you start bringing in Simon Pegg, who's really mostly in The Office, and they start populating the world with other characters, so that then when Brad Bird does 4, and then 5 comes along, and 6, and you start like peppering in these characters over and over again, so that not only do you have what seems to be a recurring cast, but you also have a team that is formed, so that it's not just Ethan's story anymore. It's the story of this whole team. I think that that's really cool and a really organic way to do it, because it never felt like, here's the movie where we form our team. It just felt like a really organic way of building a team, so that now you've got this great supporting cast all around Tom Cruise. And that if you ever decided to kill Tom Cruise and let him just produce the films, you've got a great cast of characters that you can continue to ride the franchise out with. Such a great way of doing that.
It's on, in a weird way, it's almost like if you tried a little harder with the Fast and Furious movies. Like those work for what they are, but it's the same concept. Like if you introduce more and more characters that are likable and you make this more of an ensemble film, all of a sudden, when your lead actor dies, you can keep the franchise going.
Exactly.
And so it's a moneymaker, but people like the camaraderie, and with the Mission Impossible films, it's to probably a higher bar, I would think. Kind of all around, in my opinion, but nothing against the Fast and Furious movies, but the Mission Impossible movies try a little harder in a lot of areas, cinematography, even fight choreography in a way, concept story, absolutely, So it's you know, it's a higher version of the Fast and Furious movies, but also, totally. I mean, in the first Mission Impossible, there's an ensemble for like 5 minutes, and then they all get killed. Yeah. So in a way, it's just like, you know, this is Tom Cruise, this is Ethan Hunt building up relationships with this team, similar to the one he probably had with those people, with Emilio Estevez and all those other characters that you got to know briefly, and then they're snuffed out.
Exactly.
So it's
in
the
really, opening scene. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, anyway, so sorry, it's quick, that was a little tangent, but we realized we didn't really talk about the Mission Impossible trailer, and that looks very promising.
It does.
That's going to be something to look forward to.
Yes, definitely.
Anyway, so we wanted to get into film reviews now, and this seems like the one that's most relevant of all the films that Dustin and I have seen over the hiatus was Dustin seeing Lady Bird. Yeah. The Oscar-nominated Lady Bird for what actress, supporting actress, director. Isn't this Greta Gerwig's first film?
Not her first, but a very early.
Okay.
She's only done a few before this. Lady Bird follows Saoirse Ronan as Lady Bird, a character who gives herself that name, and doesn't quite get along with her mother, finds herself drawn more to her father. Her brother she doesn't really get along with very well, and she goes to this Catholic school where she doesn't really fit in except with one friend that she has, and it's a really tight friendship. And this sort of chronicles her last year of high school, and it's a really, really good film. So I always hesitate to give anything 5 stars, but this comes pretty darn close. This to me is genuinely funny, genuinely heartfelt. It's a great, like, it feels so realistic that this character, yes, it's like one of those indie movies where the characters are quirky and whatever, but it feels real. Like, it doesn't feel like it's too quirky. It doesn't feel like it's so quirky that everybody's like a Kramer. It feels like it's quirky enough that these are just eccentric people.
Right.
And eccentric people are interesting to watch. And yeah, I mean, it hits a lot of really interesting beats. It hits a lot of really sort of deep-seated things within a lot of people about high school and about the way that high school unfolds. And then ultimately when you go to college, sort of how that feels. It feels very genuine. And yeah, I mean, even though these characters are exaggerated, and even though, like I said, they're eccentric, there's something I think that resonates and makes you feel like you're one of these weird people. At least it did for me. You know, I was a creative arts kid in high school, so, you know, maybe I was a weird kid, but I feel like this really did sort of capture the pointlessness and yet all too desperate high school. So to me, it's weird because I could spend all day, and you guys know, anybody who's listened to these episodes know I spend all day talking about the plot of a film before I ever review it. There is no real plot here. It's just a chronicle of the last year, and sort of the relationships that Lady Bird falls into and out of, and it's just a really great, honest film. I really recommend that if this is playing in the theaters near you, go see it. Don't do it at noon where you're going to be the only person in the theater. Do it on a Friday night where you're probably going to get a few stragglers coming in. And I know it's probably towards the end of its theatrical run, but it's better with an audience. And if you end up just waiting for the Redbox release of this, that's fine too. But I really do think this is a great film to see with an audience. If only for little twists and turns that get gasps and the little laughs that are peppered, obviously, throughout the film. I think a lot of people kind of praised this as being like one of the best movies ever. It had a 100 on Rotten Tomatoes for a long time.
Yeah.
And I heard a lot of people say like, as soon as you leave this theater, it'll make you like call your mother. And it's like, well, you know, I didn't really feel that necessarily. Maybe had I been, you know, a girl of that age, yeah, maybe. But being as removed from that time in my life as I am, I didn't really feel like nostalgia for it. I related more to the pointlessness of high school and how everything that seemed so important there really kind of very quickly passes away. And you realize that like life continues, life goes on despite stupidity, despite bad decisions, life goes on, and each day is a new day, and so all of these things that seem so important, and like I'm never going to live this down, or I'm never going to get past this thing, you do, and so anyway, all that's a roundabout way of saying it's just a very honest film. It's a film that feels real and has great performances. I do think Saoirse Ronan probably deserves an Oscar for this. I think it's that good.
Wow.
Not only, you know, is it really difficult to believe she's not American, because she is like on top of that accent.
And that's and she's very Irish. So.
Yes, she is. Yeah. And it's buttoned down, man. But it's just a great movie, and there's no real big stars in it, with the exception of maybe her. But it is it's just a great movie. I don't want to overhype it, but it's just so refreshing to see, I guess, in a landscape of movies about volcanoes exploding and genetically enhanced dinosaurs. You also get something that feels so real and like an actual human story that like you might sit down with an acquaintance and a friend and just say, like, tell me about your high school experience, and this is what you get.
Right.
Like it just feels real. And you know, for all of its zaniness and all of its quirkiness, it actually says something about humanity. Another thing that I liked about it is it didn't seem overly critical of the religiosity that she's brought up in.
Wow.
It feels reverent. It feels like it has something to say that yes, it's not. I don't want to give anything away, but it feels like by the end of the film, what Lady Bird sort of realizes is the importance of this thing, this foundation that she has in her life, of you know, this religion that she's been brought up in. And you know, I'm not Catholic, but I can certainly see the I can see the merit in this. I can see that this applies beyond just Catholicism. This is that you don't toss aside the things that were formative in your youth. You build on top of those things. And so I just felt like this was a really poignant and great piece that felt like just felt like humanity. So yeah, I think that's why people are feeling this movie so much, is it doesn't come across critical of anything, but rather hopeful that life goes on and that things that are bad today you can fix, and they may not be bad tomorrow. And I think that hope is exactly what people need today. And maybe that's just what I got out of it. I don't know. Maybe somebody else walked out going like, that was depressing and I hated it. But for me, I found it hopeful and I found it funny, and I just found it true. So yeah, big thumbs up for me. Hooper, we haven't really explained our rating system yet, but I will say that this is somewhere on the line between 4 and 5 stars for me. So it's a great film.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Yeah, we got a star system, people. We finally figured out how we're going to rate film after 6 years doing this show, Dustin. We finally figured out how we want to
finally figured it out.
rate the films, and it's essentially the 5-star system if you want to lump it in. But our descriptions, I think, are a little bit more generic than just like this was terrible, this was the second coming of Christ. But like but for us, I'll just go through it real quick. I'm sorry to do it in the middle of your review, but I have something to add, something to say too. But essentially 1 star is we have the 1 star, aka it pissed me off. We have 2 stars, aka it didn't piss me off. 3 stars, aka it was fine. 4 stars, aka it was pretty good. And 5 stars, aka it was great. And there's a little bit of nuance you can add to the start. For instance, like I would say, I don't know, a film like Jurassic World, the first Jurassic World. I would give that 3 stars. I would say it's fine, but I'd probably get a 3.5. Like it was fine, and then just me personally. Sorry,
it was fine plus.
It was fine plus I really enjoyed it. I think objectively it was fine, and I really enjoyed it. And then it sounds like Lady Bird was it was great.
I mean it's definitely, it's pretty good plus. Like it's right there in that window, because I think it's going to have to really be something crazy to get that 5 star from me. But it is. I mean, this is on that line. You're
not going to see a lot of 5 stars from the HooperCast, everybody.
You're not.
Because it has to mean something. We're not going to give something that's pretty good a 5 stars. So I mean, I think that when you look at other people's star ratings, especially if they do the half-star system, you've got whatever like main area they arrive in, like for Jurassic World, if I told you like, oh, it was 3.5 stars for me, it was fine, you can bet that I mean it's definitely 3 stars objectively, and you got to give me a half star of differential between whether I go up or down, because it's obviously going to be tailored to my interests and my sensibilities. So yes, objectively it's a 3. I'd give it a 3.5 because I was looking for a film like this. This is what I expected out of it, and I got it.
And there's a lot of wiggle room there, because if you extrapolate there that, okay, well, a 4 star is essentially an 80% and a 5 star is essentially 100%. Well, what about, in between 80 and 100? There's 20 numbers right there that you got to, figure that out. And so, this, Lady Bird is probably like a 90%. So, it's 4.5 stars.
4.5 stars, yeah. Because it seems like it's, it's a little bit better than pretty good, and it's a little bit short of great, because great has to be like, not only was this film objectively good, but this hit like all the points I look for in a great film, which you and I want that to carry some weight when we say it.
We're talking like Lord of the Rings. That's a 5 star, So
Lady Bird, it's interesting because like you say, it's really nice. I will just say, having not seen it, but wanting to see it. Ever since I heard the 100% Rotten Tomatoes, I've been interested in seeing this film. And I think it's nice that you can have a film be so critically acclaimed, be so acclaimed by an audience. I don't want to say, I guess, a wide audience. I don't know the size of the audience, but acclaimed by the audience and critics alike. It's not just like a critical darling that actually isn't that great. It's hopeful without being saccharine, and it has humanity without being cynical. I think that's very rare these days in film. So I think that's a high praise of this film. Awesome. Well, I definitely want to check out Lady Bird. So
I definitely think you should. I highly recommend it.
Well, that's going to do it for 147, everybody.
Yay.
Get out there, see some movies. Check us out again on Wednesday. We'll be back, and we'll be talking about maybe a little bit of a speed round, Dustin. Some films we've seen recently. And then on Friday, we're going to talk about The Last Jedi, because now I've seen it, and I've got some damn thoughts.
Well, I want to hear those.
That are, I got nice things to say, too.
Okay.
So, anyway. Sweet. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Woo! Bye.
Bye. Dustin, I mute my mic so the listeners couldn't hear me. Can you hear me when I'm doing what I was just doing?
No.
Oh, okay. Good.
Okay. What were you doing? Well, never mind. I don't want to know. Never mind. You keep that secret.
The last episode, if I'm pretty sure I did while you were talking. I don't know. Anyway, there's gonna be a part in the video where a noise happens, and I slowly just grin as you just ignore it. Anyway,
is it the noise we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.